Hi, and welcome to Developing Successful Minds with Teaching Excellence. I'm Sherry Farrow from Inspire and Inform. In this session, we're going to be talking about the learning state. So the learning state would actually be the state that I would suggest that you be in any training or while you're listening to audios or attending lectures. And in fact, I would suggest that the learning state be the state that everybody is in whenever they're learning to something new or learning something new. Or at any time when they're in a learning environment. And what the learning state does, it actually increases learning and recall. So what do you do? What do you do first? So you have to understand that the learning state, basically you have to understand that there's two parts to your vision. So you have the foveal vision, which is the central part of your vision when you look at something. And then outside of your foveal vision, we have what you call the peripheral vision. And the peripheral vision actually expands your awareness outwards. It also has a very calming influence on the body as well. So basically, when you are in any training environment, if you can train yourself to always go into the learning state, which means going into peripheral vision, expanding your peripheral vision at any time, then what it does, as a metaphor, it sort of opens up the trap door to your brain. And this is what we teach kids. We actually say, teach them the learning state. And then we say to them, like, it opens up the trap door to your brain. So then when the teacher is teaching anything from the front of the room or anywhere in the classroom, it just pours into your brain. It all pours in there, like, glug, 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 glug. It all pours in there. And then when you're finished that lesson for the day and you're walking out the door, just imagine that trap door closes. And then when you go into an exam or a test or anything that you have to do like that to recall that information, just sit down, go into the learning state, and just imagine that trap door opens, and then all that information comes out and you're able to write it down in your paper. So all of it just comes out. So we all know that learning is state dependent. So if you're able to set up a state in every classroom for the children or the learners to go into, so that then they can access that state whenever there is an exam or a test, you can imagine how much easier it is going to be for them. The important part here is understanding that learning is state dependent. So whatever state they are in when they learn something, that's a state that they need to go into when they recall something. And this is, as you know, NLP is the study of excellence, and this is what they've done to be able to understand how people can recall information so easily. And it is based on going into the same state when they're learning and accessing that same state when they're actually recalling that information as well. All right. So bear in mind those two, aspects of your vision, or the two parts of your vision. Also, as we're looking at the foveal vision, just remember children who have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. A lot of the time when we work with them, we actually teach them to go into peripheral vision, and it takes some time. So with the advent of all this computer technology, iPads, gaming and all that sort of stuff, you can imagine that most people now are only focused on that one part of their vision, which is the foveal vision. So it's sort of like looking through a tunnel, really. So if you can imagine there's a big pipe in front of you, and when we're talking about children who've been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, what they're trying to do is notice everything that's going on in the room. But because they haven't learned how to use their peripheral vision, they're looking through this tunnel, like this pipe. So of course, anytime there's anything going on, it's like they're jumping around to try and see it all, sort of something like this, what's happening over there? What's happening over there? What's happening over there? What's happening over there? So because they're only seeing it through their foveal vision, they have to be jittery, they have to jump around to be able to see all these things. So one of the first things we do when we do work with children with ADD or ADHD is actually teach them peripheral vision. And by doing that, what we do is just stand behind them and have our hands on the sides of their faces so they can just see our fingers. And bit by bit, we start moving our hands out. Now, it does take some practice because sometimes those children can only see to about here. So we practice that for a while, and then slowly over the week, we expand that vision out. So the idea is to be able to get out to about 180 degrees. So you can basically see 180 degrees in your peripheral vision. So that when you're sitting in your seat, you're able to see the right-hand side wall and also the left-hand side wall and whatever's happening in that area. Now, when you're able to do that, you're also able to see everything that's happening around the front of you. So how do we do it? So basically what we need to do then is we need to have a focus point on the wall, and that focus point needs to be just above eye level. So your head stays straight, but it's just so you're able to just lift your eyes up above eye level, sort of like so. So what we do, that's the purpose of the black spot that we put up in any of our training rooms, and that you might like to use in the classrooms there as well. Just have a black spot, or even 2 black spots, depending on the width of your classroom, just so each learner can easily look at that spot, make sure it's just above eye level. And it is about teaching them to keep their head still and only lift the eyes. Now, you don't want it too high so it's uncomfortable, but just above eye level. So if you want to try that now, just pick a spot in the room that you're sitting in at the moment, any spot, and just make sure it's just slightly above eye level. Now, as you focus all your attention on that spot, just allow your vision to expand out into the periphery. Start to notice what's happening on the far right and what's happening on the far left. So there might be people there, sitting there, you might have posters on the wall, whatever it is, just try to notice whatever it is on the far right and whatever it is on the far left. And just notice what's happening inside as well as you're doing that. So now when you've done that, just stay sort of there, but bring your focus now down to the computer again, or to me. Now, you can see that even though you're looking at me now, you can still notice that you can see things out in your periphery. So you're focused on me, but you can still see things that are happening out on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, as far out as you can go. Now, it is a practice thing, so it's about practicing that so you're able to do it easily and effortlessly. What we like to teach your kids to do is that as soon as they walk in the classroom door, it's like an anchor for them. As soon as they walk in the classroom door, to go straight into that peripheral vision. So we know through stats that we've held that most children that we work with who we teach just the learning state increase their grades quite significantly. When you did it, you would have noticed that in your body you had a calming sort of even like a relaxation. It sort of calmed you down a little bit. You went into a calmer state. So then again, when we're talking about our nervous system, we've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So parasympathetic is when our body's at peace, and sympathetic is when it's stressed. So when your body's stressed, it's doing too many other things and it can't focus on what you're wanting it to learn. So by focusing the children's attention onto a spot and then getting them to bring their attention down to you as the teacher in the front of the room, it actually accesses their parasympathetic nervous system. So it calms them down, which in itself is a healthier option than anything else. So pop a spot up on the wall in your classroom, teach your children how to go into the learning state, and remember then to also remind them that whenever they're going for a test or wherever they need to recall that information to again access that state. So eventually you won't need the spot on the wall because it will just be an automatic function. It'll be an automatic behaviour where whenever you're in a learning environment, you'll go straight into the learning state. But have fun with it. Make it fun for them. Use the metaphor of it being a trapdoor that opens when you're, feeding them information or teaching them new things. And as they walk out the door, that trapdoor closes. And when they need to access it again, just imagine that the trapdoor opens and all the information just comes pouring out. So it's always there with them. So imagine that as a belief as well. If that child believes that, whatever they need to know, it's already there. It's going to make them start off their learning journey on a much more solid foundation or much more solid footing. So just enjoy the learning state, and I'll be interested to see how you get on with it.